Hey folks, thanks for joining me again. Today in the anime production class we are going to talk about screenplays. Screenplay is basically a script for the screen. Kind of self-explanatory, but in Japan they do it a bit different. According to the animation company Madhouse, um, I got a lot of information about how they do screenplays, so that's the format we're going to be using today in this lesson. Um, first, first draft you would do of a screenplay would be called the original, and then after that they'll be called revisions. So, according to Madhouse, up to 10 revisions will be done over a span of 3 weeks. Not pushing more than a month because of scheduling. I guess by 3 weeks they already ran out of time and they need to hit the deadline and go into continue pre-production, and then after that production and post-production. So 3 weeks, 10 revisions at most, and after you have those 10 revisions done, they do a reading of the scripts of the screenplay for they bring in the press, they bring in TV buyers, they bring in magazines, production companies are going to be working with them. The director and the writers are there, and they read through the script. No more than 10 people are allowed in the script reading room at any time. And then they have production meetings where the script is read through with producers and directors, storyboard artists, and other production people. So the format that they use is called a block format, which is instead of having all your text in a row and your dialogue in the middle of the page, you cut up every scene and you write the text out, and then you put the dialogue, and they're basically in block paragraphs instead of having a whole page of scripts of dialogue and action and environment, location. That information is still there. It's just it's done in a block format, and I'll show you what that means up on the screen. I'm going to take my thought of manga on a string that we talked about in the first lesson, and I'm going to start writing a short screenplay for that. I'm not going to go through all 60 minutes of the screenplay, but I will write a page or two about the anime, and so something I could later on hopefully start animating or at least designing and laying out, so you get an idea of what it means in the overall aspect of the production. So let's get to writing, and I'll see you soon. Our text editor open. I'm going to change this font to something really big so everyone can see. If you're going to write this, depending how you write, I would write at a regular size typeface or font. I'm doing this at a 48 because I need everyone to see the screen and not have to squint to read what I'm writing. Even though I'm dictating, usually when I'm writing on the screen, I still want you all to be able to see. So that's why it's such a huge font I'm using right now. So your font doesn't matter, your text writer doesn't matter, PC, Mac, your phone, a tablet, doesn't really matter. Just as long as you get your ideas down and you're able to get it printed somehow or deliver it to whomever's going to be doing your production. And that's all that really matters. So let's get started. Of course, I think you should have the title of your script on your Word document. So my title is Manga on a String, and I'll just highlight this just so I know that this is my script. So, we'll start by stating the first scene. Interior, exterior. Right now, first scene for my manga on a string is exterior. And let me just get rid of that underlining. And my setting is Tokyo during the morning. Sorry, Tokyo dash morning. So yeah, I have to adapt this for English writers because I'm not writing in kanji or katakana or anything Japanese. So I'm adapting it to the English language. So I might stumble along the way. So please just bear with me, and I'll try to adapt it as best as I can. And everything that I'm writing right now is off the top of my head. I have nothing pre-written. I'm not reading off of any script or any pre-written pages. I'm doing this straight from my brain onto the screen so everyone can watch me work as I do without any guidelines or without leading myself already and practicing beforehand. This is all just me typing. So what you want to do first is establish your scene number, this is my first scene, and you want to establish exterior or interior, inside or outside. You want to establish where the person's at, be it their home or outside in the street, at Starbucks, at a maid cafe. You just want to state where they're at, so when you go to production, they know where to put the character. And I put morning here, morning, afternoon, early afternoon, evening, night. You'll state what time of day it is, so once again, when you go into production, they'll know what setting to put the characters in. So you have scene number 1, exterior, Tokyo, morning. Now, I would usually state who is in the scene. So let's put shop owner. I would usually give the person a character name by this time. I just don't have any names off the top of my head right now. He is known as a shop owner, and I would give him a little description since we don't know what he looks like or who he is right now. So put shop owner, put him in his late 60s. Let's see. He will be a slender build. Thinning hair. Let's put black thinning hair. Let's give him a hunchback, since he's always bending and moving and squatting, stacking his little kiosk store. And let's put him in a modern day, just slacks and button down shirt. So his name right now is shop owner, and his description is he's in his late 60s. He has a slender build. His black hair is thinning. He has a hunchback, and that's just a characteristic of him. So you might want to state characteristics as well when you're giving descriptions, so you're separating them from other characters in your script or your screenplay. And he's wearing modern day slacks and a button-down shirt. So that's just what his costume would look like. You could state colors. You could say they're black slacks, or he's wearing a t-shirt. He's wearing a military shirt, or he's wearing a Dickies shirt. Doesn't really. It's whatever your character you see in your head is wearing. I'm sure this will all change by the time I get to design, but for right now, this is what the character looks like, and this is what they're wearing. And he's wearing shoes, of course. I just don't know what type of shoes right now he's wearing. So, the moment on script, he's barefoot, but in reality, we all know that if we're outside, we're probably wearing shoes or sandals. Okay, so then I will leave a space, and I will give action to the screen. If there's any other characters inside of the scene or cut, you would want to state the other characters and give them a description, a name, so everyone knows who they are, especially when they go to storyboard. They can storyboard each character inside of the shot, and if you give a description at first, they'll have a relative idea of what the character looks like. Also, you might want to put in traits of the character, like let's say it's a female and she's always chewing bubblegum, or she likes eating ketchup out of a little ketchup bag like you find in restaurants, or she sucks on a lollipop, or she twirls her hair, or she giggles a lot. There's characteristics you want to give your characters so they're individuals and they're separated from the other characters. Alright, so now I'll put some action in the scene, state who is doing the action. Shop owner walks over to a locked up little manga shop. So this is the action in the scene. We take our shop owner and we give him an action. So he's walking over, and where he's walking over to is a locked up little manga shop. So that would be your scene one. No dialogue in this scene, he's just doing an action. Then we'll skip down and we'll go to scene number 2. Exterior, Tokyo, morning. Okay, so we're gonna go from the shop owner walking over to the locked up manga shop, and we're gonna jump cut to him already inside of the store. Unless it's like a Studio Ghibli or Miyazaki movie, I don't know if you actually want to spend all the time watching him unlock the store or putting out the goods, setting up the shop. You can if you want to, but I'm trying to make this as quick and efficient as I can. So we're gonna go from him walking to the store, and we're gonna cut some time out in the day, and we're gonna place him in the shop. So shop owner is waiting at his counter for customers. Okay, so once again, we're stating who's in the scene or who's in the cut, what they're doing. He's waiting at his counter, and what is he waiting for? He's waiting for customers. How do you depict this? That is a good question. You can say he's waiting at the counter for customers. while listening to, let's say, 60s music. He's tapping a pen to the music while yawning and looking bored. So right now, in our scene 2, he's actually I'm going to change that exterior into interior because he is inside of the shop. So our scene 2, interior, Tokyo. Actually, also we're not just in Tokyo, we're inside the manga shop, because this could be a different shop that he's in. If you are going to show him in scene 1 opening up the shop, you might want to do that now and just go back and revise and state he's opening up the shop, so when we cut to him inside the shop, you know that he's inside the shop. If you're doing designs for the shop and there's tells, you might want to put those into the first scene. A tell meaning that there's a signage that says Little Manga Shop of Tokyo on the outside, and on the inside there's another sign that says Welcome to the Little Shop of Manga in Tokyo. So that's a tell. So you can tell that he's in the shop that he was walking to in the first scene when we jump cut. So scene number 2, interior, inside the manga shop. It's still morning. Our shop owner is waiting at his counter for customers, and then we'll give him an action, because this is the shop owner waiting at his counter for customers isn't really an action, it's a place setting. It's the imagery on the screen. But if we give him something to do while listening to music, and he's also tapping a pen on the counter, he's tapping a pen to the music. Oh, that's good. He's tapping a pen to the music. He's tapping a pen on he's tapping a pen, I guess, yeah, on a counter to the music would make more sense, while yawning. So you give him an action while he's at his counter and waiting for customers. How do you know he's waiting for customers? He could just be in there killing his time, or just sitting around because he's a delinquent. I don't know. So if we give him something to do and it shows that he's bored without actually him saying I'm so bored and using that as dialogue, we give him an action. And if he's tapping a pen on the counter to the music, you know, he's probably waiting, and then he's also yawning. That gives the indication to the audience that the tapping on the pen and him standing at his counter means that he's waiting for something. You don't know what yet, but you assume it's customers since he is running a store. And if he yawns, that usually gives the indication that you're bored. And if he's looking bored, if let's say his eyes are rolling, or he has his hand on his chin and his arm on a counter with his head leaned up against it, you give the actions to the viewer that this person's bored, and since he's working at a store, you assume that he's waiting for customers. So then we go to scene 3. It'll still be inside the manga shop. And let's put it in the afternoon. Oh, let's put it in the late afternoon. So if we're looking at the scene and the light has shifted since the morning time, since it gradually gets darker as time goes by, or if it's late at night, time goes by, it gets lighter. But since we're here in the morning, now we're here in the afternoon, we now show passes of time using light effects, or we could have a clock on the wall that shows you that it's now 4 o'clock, when earlier in the scene we had a clock on the wall that said that it's 9 a.m. So there's different patches of time. Right now you won't be writing all that information because you'll leave something to the production value of the anime. Just because this is a screenplay doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to stick to it 100%. The director of the show might have his own ideas and make changes. And when it gets into the storyboard aspect of it, your scenes might not make sense visually. So you don't have to write every single detail in your script, because it's not likely that it's actually going to be used. And since this is the first draft, more than likely there'll be lots of revisions before it actually goes into production. So that's another thing to take into consideration. Right now we're just thinking of ideas, and we're writing a screenplay, and from here on in, I'm sure there'll be other revisions, and we can add and take away and change details, or add a little bit more information, or even dialogue. So our scene 3, we're interior again, and we're still inside the manga shop. By this time, we could put manga shop as our location, but we'll just keep it as inside the manga shop right now, and it's late afternoon. So what do we want the character to be doing? Let's introduce a new character, a customer right now. So we'll put customer walks into the shop. Now you want to describe this customer, because you don't want this to be like a gray blob and a nameless or faceless character. It might be a gray blob if that's what your character is, but you want to give some description if the characters are interacting with each other, and or if they're interacting with the environment, you want to give information of what's happening in the scene. So customer walks into the shop, and we'll describe the customer. Let's say it's a young woman. Right now I don't have a name for her, so her name right now is Young Woman in the script, in the screenplay. Let's describe her. Let's say she's wearing a business suit. Flat shoes. Her hair is in a bun with her bangs flowing in the air. It sounds a bit weird. but it's a description of the woman. Let's make sure that we know that she's let's say she's in her mid-20s. And she's wearing a business suit with flat shoes. Her hair is in a bun with her bangs flowing in the air. So she walks into the shop, and then let's give the shopkeeper something to say. So his name is shop owner, and he'll say, "Hello, welcome to the little manga shop in Tokyo." Now, since he's speaking, you don't really need to put any quotes. It should be easy to recognize that he is speaking, because there's now dialogue, and I don't think you would mistake this for dialogue. But if you do, you can give indications of his speaking. You can also put down that he's happy when he's saying this line. You don't need to capitalize this if you don't want to, but you know that he's happy because he has a customer now in his shop, and he's greeting the customer. "Hello, welcome to the little manga shop in Tokyo." And then we can give some dialogue to the young woman. And she says, "Good afternoon. Do you have the new Naruto?" And let's make her also happy. So now for scene 3, we have scene 3, interior. We're inside the manga shop, so that's our location. It's late afternoon. That is the time of day. A customer walks into the shop, which is the action that's happening in the scene. We introduce a new person, so we have to describe them. If we had a name for the character, we would put the character's name here. But for right now, her name is Young Woman. And then we give her a description. So she's in her mid-20s. She's wearing a business suit, and she has flat shoes on. Her hair is in a bun with her bangs flowing in the air. So it gives her at least head something to do, gives her a little movement, and we can tell that she's in motion if her hair is flowing in the air. It's not that she's just standing around and her hair is flowing in the air, even though it might seem that's what it says literally, but we are dealing with real world physics, I guess, right now, and maybe her hair is flowing in the air. It all depends on what you want. So our shop owner will state the person's name once again, and we'll give them a the way that they feel, or the way that their voice sounds. So he sounds happy. So, you know, when he says, "Hello, welcome to the little manga shop in Tokyo," he's upbeat. But if he was sad, he would sound like, "Hello, welcome to the little manga shop in Tokyo. He's a little more downer, but right now we want to keep him a little happy since there's such other destruction and uh, qualms that people have right now in our little idea right now for manga on a string. It's not a happy place in the Tokyo time in this show, but people are still trying to stay happy in such a time of destruction and trying to keep upbeat. So we once again move on and we state the other person in the scene, which is a young woman, and she's also happy. And she greets back the shop owner, and she says, "Good afternoon. Do you have the new Naruto?" She's also happy. So that would end that that third cut. And we'll move on to our fourth cut, or scene. And if you're not familiar, cut means anytime you change the camera angle. So if I have a camera pointing at me, at my face, and I'm saying, "Hello, good afternoon," and if I cut to a different shot, that would be a different scene. So right now we can read through our manga on the string script that we have thus far. So first shot we have is exterior Tokyo. So we give a location. It's an establishing shot. We might have a big pan coming down to the street and focusing on the shop owner, showing all the destruction of our fictional Tokyo, and focusing on this one and only older gentleman walking down the road. And it's morning time. We'll describe the shop owner. And if he had a name right now, his name will go here. He's in his late 60s. He's a slender build man. He has black thinning hair, a hunchback, so he constantly seems like he's down or sad or depressed, or just could be that life has been kind of tough. And even though he's in his 60s, which isn't that old, he's still, life has been a little hard, and he walks around with a hunchback all day. He's wearing modern day slacks with a button-down shirt. That's what he's wearing, so we need him to wear something, or else it just might seem weird. So we just state right now what he's wearing and give the character some personality through his clothes and through his hunchback and his thinning hair. And continuing with the first shot, shop owner walks over to a locked up little manga shop. And that's the action in the scene. Our cut 2, or scene 2, we're inside now, so we're using interior. He's inside the manga shop, which is the location, and morning is the time of day. And then we give a description of what's happening in the scene. The shop owner is waiting at the counter for customers. And we assume this because he's inside of a shop and he's working there. He's behind the counter. And that's what you wait for when you're working at a store, is you're waiting for customers. And we give him an action, so he's not just a stiff board at the counter. While listening to 60s music, we'll have something playing in the background. He's tapping a pen on the counter to the music, so he's in beat. Might be a little fast for 60s music, but he's listening to an old doo-wop band playing some songs, some old rock and roll, or some I don't know, beatnik music. It's all depends on what the character might be listening to. And he's yawning. He's looking bored at the counter. So we give him a secondary action so we know how he's feeling without having to say the words. Our shop owner feels down. For our third scene, since the camera changed and we're moving forward in time, we're still inside the shop. So we're inside the manga shop, our location, and it's late afternoon. So time has passed. Like I said earlier, there might be a clock on the wall that shows the time passing. You could also change the lighting situation to maybe earlier the interior lights are off and it's bright outside and you can see out through the window, and now it's getting later, so the inside lights are turned on and there's in the outside it's darker, or even the shadows that are casted on the products have changed. It's moved since the sun has moved and created a different shadow. So our setup for the shot is a customer walks into the shop. So we give something happening inside the shop. The person's a young woman in her mid-20s. She's wearing a business suit with flat shoes. Her hair is in a bun with bangs flowing in the air. And we give them some dialogue. So the shop owner says, "Hello, welcome to the little manga shop in Tokyo." And he's happy. So we also state that he's happy so we can give clue to how he's feeling, or at least pretending to feel at this moment in time. And we could also give this instruction so when voice actors come along, they can be happy when they talk upwards inflections. Or you could leave this out, or it might be revised later, or it might just be strict from the whole screenplay. Can't tell the future, but right now, this is what we're doing. So then we have a young woman again, and she's also happy. And she asks the shopkeep, "Good afternoon, do you have the Naruto?" I should say new Naruto, or latest Naruto. So we have, "Good afternoon, do you have the latest Naruto?" Upwards inflection, a question. And we can cut. So our scene 4, we're still inside the shop. And we're still continuing the dialogue. So a shop owner unfortunately has to tell our customer that there's no new manga happening or being received, so he becomes sad, and you can hear it in his voice. And he says, "I'm sorry, ma'am. There is no new manga for sale." So then we give him something to say. We give her an action. You see that young woman puts her head down and starts walking towards the door. While the woman puts her head down, turns around and starts walking towards the door. We might give her some dialogue so she's not rude. And we'll state that she says, "Thank you for your time. I looked everywhere for new manga." And in the same shot, we could have her exit out the door. So for scene 4, we have interior. She's inside the manga shop. It's late afternoon. The shop owner is sad when he replies to the woman that just asked him, "Good afternoon, do you have the latest Naruto?" So the shop owner is sad and he replies, "I'm sorry, ma'am. There is no new manga for sale." And we look over to the woman, if she's not in the same shot, and she's puts her head down, turns around and starts walking towards the door. As she's walking, the young woman says, "Thank you for your time. I've looked everywhere for new manga." And she might also be sad. And we continue the action, and young woman exits the store slowly. So, earlier in my description video for this, I stated that we'll be writing in a block format. And what I mean by block format is this. So if we were writing a regular screenplay for, let's say, a live action movie or a live action TV show, everything would be centered, be justified to the left, and our dialogue would be centered. A better example would be a shot with dialogue. So if we were doing this, be justified to the left. All our descriptions, all our actions in the shows. Our dialogue would be in the center. And our script would be elongated, and it would be not really much harder to read, but to simplify it and to cut down space and having to format the whole script every time we write dialogue or actions, or we put our character in different scenes in different locations. We don't have to do that. We just put it in a block format, and we could save time and space and still understand that this is our our location, if we're inside or outside, our number of the scene or cut where we want to be, and I'm sorry, the following number of our scene. We have to keep it in order so we know where we're at with the screenplay. We'll give them a time of day, a location, and we'll tell them inside or outside, interior, exterior. We'll keep our dialogue in a block format, and we'll keep our actions in a block format as well. And we'll justify it to the left so it looks something like this. And I was writing in the center so everyone can see the screen, and it won't be that confusing when I was writing and you're watching me type. So right now I'll end this part of the lesson, and I hope you understand what I mean by block format, and I hope you understand a little bit more of screenplay writing, and we'll go all the way through every single scene, every location, every costume change, and put them inside of a script. But that script we'll call a screenplay, because this is going on to the screen, it's being produced, and a script would be similar, but a script would be more for a live action script, which would then turn into a screenplay, and then that is what they'll use during production. But since we're doing production on animation, we use block formatting, and we call it a screenplay. So thank you, and I'll be back for a wrap-up video, and I hope I wasn't too much of a mess, and I hope you learned something new. All right, thanks. So that's pretty much what screenplays are. They are scripts. They're just made for the screen, and the script is usually used for dialogue recording. So there's lots of things that go into screenplays. What you want to state also in screenplays is any background dialogue that might be going on in anime. There's lots of overlapping audio, meaning that there's a character talking, and then in the background there's other people talking as well. If it's relevant to the scene, or if it's just like, if it's muttering, then you don't really need to put that into the script, into the screenplay, I'm sorry. But that's the way that we write block screenplays, and block meaning the format of the screenplay. And that's pretty much it. So thank you for watching, and hope you learned something in this class, and try it out. Start writing your screenplay for your synopsis that you wrote in the last class. And I'll see you in the next class, which should be design, and we'll start drawing, and we'll start coming up with characters and doing props and some images for environments and stuff like that. Okay, well, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon.